Hello, my friends, and welcome to my channel. The voice you are listening to is Jeanette Andromeda, and the face I'm drawing right now isn't mine. I know, there's other witchy people in the world. So the artwork I'm creating while you listen today is for the Throwdown Thursday Podcast. I created their brand new icon and podcast artwork for iTunes, as well as 2 t-shirt designs, and all of that art is in this one video because Ashes von Nitemare and Patsy, the Angry Nerd, the hosts of the Throwdown Thursday podcast, allowed me to use the audio from a podcast that I was a guest on to pair up with this episode. Woohoo! So thank you, Ashes and Patsy, and thank you guys, because now you get to enjoy all sorts of things. This gives me an opportunity to share a longer form version of how I create digital artwork. This all together probably took about 4 or 5 hours of creation that's now condensed into, I don't know, however long this video is. So I hope you guys enjoy seeing more of my artwork as it's created, and especially enjoy listening to the Throwdown Thursday podcast episode where Ashes von Nitemare and Patsy the Angry Nerd and myself all talk about Captain Phasma and talking about the comparison between Phasma and Boba Fett and lots of other nerdy details. Please sit back and enjoy, and I'll talk to you a little bit more at the end of this.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 97, getting closer to that century mark. Episode 97 of Throwdown Thursday. I am your host, Patsy the Angry Nerd. I am perplexed because when I got home today, I was looking for my wife, and all I found was this strange pile of dust. I have no idea what that means.
Hashtag spoilers without context.
So I have no idea what that means, but hopefully things will be back to normal in a couple weeks because we have our 100th episode coming up. So, but that being said, I am joined by the Ironborn Goddess of Giggles, Agent Nicole.
I know, I am here. I am here. I am not dead. I am not sick.
Not in space jail.
I'm not in space jail, which is very important. I got like a free get me out of jail card, so I used that recently, and I'm here.
She made a ton of photocopies of it because she is very often in jail. But we are also joined by, as I like to call him, the hardest working man in podcasting. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Wolfenstein.
And contrary to popular belief, I have never been in prison or space jail or anything like that.
No, that's because they're too scared of you.
That is true.
I've never been close enough to Benedict Cumberbatch to get in prison, so.
As you know, allegedly. Allegedly. But we have a very special guest today. We are joined by not only a fantastic person, but a fantastic artist who actually did the artwork for the podcast. So when you look us up, the first thing you see is her artwork. She is helping me personally to do some artwork for my, it seems like it's been coming out for forever. How much do you tip an exorcist? Ladies and gentlemen, the insanely talented and insanely awesome Jeanette Andromeda.
Woo! Sad facts cheering for myself. Hi, everybody.
I thought for a second we lost you. I was like, oh my god.
No.
She was like, how dare you?
I was trying really hard not to giggle through all of your intros.
How dare you?
As far as space jail goes, I may or may not run one where I may or may not have incarcerated myself in such a space jail. That is up to your decisions.
Oh, you're probably the one next to me. I think I vaguely remember you being in space jail.
You know, if you accidentally lock yourself in your own prison, you are a terrible prison guard.
I mean, Or a really good one.
Guys, does somebody have the keys? Shouldn't you have the keys? Yeah, about that.
But I was terrible, and I should not have stolen that cookie. It was not labeled for communal use in the office refrigerator, so I locked myself up.
It was one of them special cookies, and now I can see vapor trails.
Is that why everything's spinning right now?
It's entirely possible.
I was just going to make a comment. I think your book will be out before we get George R.R. Martin's The Winds of Winter.
Oh, yeah, because that's never coming out.
That's
Definitely.
true.
He even said recently that he is not going to be releasing any more chapters or doing any more readings. It's like, yeah, it's because you don't have anything else, you liar. So
He needs to focus on world building.
yeah,
It's hard to kill everybody. Come on.
and then everyone died at the end.
And then everyone died.
I mean, it's
the
easy
story
to
of Game
kill
of Thrones.
everybody.
What he should do is be like, oh, as everyone got ready for the massive final battle, the comet that we saw in like season 2 comes back around and smashes into the planet, just makes a massive tidal wave and kills everyone. The end.
The end. Amazing book. Aren't you glad you read all of those?
50,000
Also
pages.
watched the TV show?
All the companion books, guides. Yeah, it's crazy. So one of the things we like to do, Jeanette, because you haven't been on the show before, which I think is a crime.
It is a crime.
One of the things we like to do with our guests, especially our new guests who have never joined us, is we do a little thing called Getting Into Character, where what we do is we ask you 5 random questions that you have absolutely no knowledge of, and actually no one has any knowledge of right now because I haven't written them down yet.
Oh, God, we're winging it. We are winging it tonight.
So, yeah, but I'm good at winging it. If I hadn't said anything, you wouldn't have even known that I was winging it. So, Jeanette, the first question we're going to ask is, what movie, even though you might have seen it 100 times, what movie still hits you right in the emotions every time you watch it and maybe even gets you to shed a tear or two?
Oh, no. So recently I rewatched Titanic because Alexander had never seen it before, and I was like, oh, man, all I remember is crying. So sure, let's watch this. How bad could it be? Oh, my God. It was so much worse than I'd remembered.
You know, it's funny.
I cried for like a full day after watching that movie recently. I was just like, it was so sad. They loved each other so much. And then there was the boat. It was just frozen.
There was so much room on the door.
I know, fucking Rose.
Why didn't she give her granddaughter the necklace after taking care of her forever? Oh
I know, there's a lot in that. It's
That
just
would've-
kind of like, what?
That would have pissed me off. I would have jumped overboard and been like, bitch, what are you doing? I've been taking care of you forever. It's like she's, then she dies in her sleep, and then it's like, oh, what's the will? Oh, to my granddaughter, I leave this priceless fucking necklace that's worth billions. Oh, and by the way,
Yes, I threw it over the edge.
it's at the bottom of the ocean. You just need to go get it.
Yo.
What a dick.
That's the biggest fuck you ever.
So
Yeah, it really is.
I'm going to stray from the movie question now, because that was a good one. I was watching some YouTube video the other day, and somebody did say that, I think it was Cinefix, said that it's kind of a testament to James Cameron's genius that he was able to get 11 Oscar nominations when everyone already knew how the movie was going to end.
Yep. It's amazing.
So, kind of in that thread, would you rather orbit the Earth once in a space shuttle, or would you rather take a deep sea vehicle and visit the bottom of the Mariana Trench?
Oh, I don't know. Both are terrifying.
But one takes a lot more time than the other.
It's true. I mean, it would be really cool to be up in outer space.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd probably go with orbit the Earth at least like just once to see all of planet Earth and to see a perspective where not people will ever even have the opportunity to be. I mean, you wouldn't ever be able to be into that deep of the ocean either. But there's just something so magical about being able to see like the universe from a new perspective. Whereas if you go underwater, all you're going to see is about 5 feet or nothing in front of you because it's just really dark and scary. So, space.
Okay. If you could have any mythical creature, not as a pet, but as a guardian, what would you have? And don't say dragon.
Ah, damn it. Really?
Everybody would say dragon. I want some creativity.
Everyone would say dragon. All right, as a guardian?
Yeah, like it.
A mythical creature
but
as
it
a
obeys
guardian.
all your commands. You don't have to worry about it like going crazy and like, flipping out and attacking and killing somebody.
First thing that popped into my head was a brownie. Like those little mischievous little chipmunky things that get into a lot of mischief. If it were my guardian, it'd be able to, make sure. I don't know what it would do other than just be annoying and be a good friend,
Cause a lot of trouble.
I was like, wait, I've never heard that those were a mythical creature. I was like, brownie as in like the food brownie? Like,
no, not.
Yes. No.
Your brownie will get you a brownie.
The mythical brownie that's making the world spin for her right now.
Yeah. If you've ever seen the movie Willow, there's these two brownie characters in there, and they are just obnoxious, drunk, little mischievous creatures who cause mayhem and sometimes are helpful. And I just found them so amusing that I think that would be really funny to have as a guardian, a la Mushu from Mulan. Like maybe they're helpful, but mostly probably not.
Yeah, kind of think if people aren't familiar with what you're talking about, maybe some of our listeners are more familiar with kind of the little creatures that came out of the Shattered Mirror in Army of Darkness, the little tiny versions of Ash Williams, where they all teamed up to, attack him and tie him down and then dive down his throat. Yeah. So something like that. Interesting. All right. If there was if Ben and Jerry's were to make an ice cream flavor based on your life, what would they call it and what would be in it?
Based on my life?
Yeah.
Black sparkle eggless. So it'd be black ice cream with holographic glitter in there, but it'd be made without eggs because I'm terribly allergic to eggs. I also think sparkly darkness is just me.
Like all eggs? Are you talking just chicken eggs or have you tried
chicken
snake
eggs, really?
Eggs, fish
so
eggs?
I can't have any Ben and Jerry's ice cream at the moment because it's all full of chicken eggs.
That's lame.
That's a thing I miss.
Not even the non-dairy?
I think even that one, unless they have vegan kind now,
Yeah,
because
they do.
usually
Yeah,
most
they do
ice
have.
cream has. Oh, see, now I need to go find their vegan version.
There's 10 different flavors of it. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, my world is just expanded.
If you need
I'm
vegan
excited.
stuff,
In which
Wolfie's
case,
right
toss
ass.
some Chunky Monkey in there.
They have it.
Would Chunky Monkey technically be vegan? I mean,
Yes.
it's got monkey in the title.
They do have Chunky Monkey.
I don't think they use actual monkey. Usually.
No monkeys were no monkeys were harmed in the making of that ice
The
cream.
spirit of a monkey's in it. Because when you eat it, you go wild.
You go bananas.
You go bananas.
All right, so, and the last question that I'm totally not just pulling out of my ass and I'm not just stalling so I can think of something right now. If you had the opportunity to display your art somewhere, you could, you had a blank canvas and you could put it anywhere. Or, no, let me, because I know you do a lot of art. If you could sit down and get a free art lesson from any artist, alive or dead, who would it be?
Ooh. Oh, that's a tough choice. Alive or dead, get one art lesson.
Yeah, and it'll
with
like a
any
full day,
artist.
like in 8 hours. Like you break for lunch. Like there's the introduction to the class, and you do the whatchamacallit thing, the who's it's like you talk about the theory and stuff, and then you have your lunch break, and you come back and do you put it into practice, and you paint a whole thing. So it's kind of like a paint night, but like you have this famous artist teaching you.
Jim Henson.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I would do a full day with Jim Henson. I don't care if I was drawing, building puppets, and I don't care what. Like, to have the opportunity to be in the same space as that brain would be worth everything to me.
Okay, that's a good choice. That's not what I was expecting, and that's kind of the reason why we do these questions. No, I mean it's not like that's. I mean the reason we do these questions is to get you to, get a little insight into your brain. So I think that kind of wraps up that opening segment. So what we're going to do is, have we talked about who we're talking about today?
No, we have not.
All right, so who we're talking about today, because we didn't mention it on last week's show because we are just like overwhelmed with Infinity War stuff. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be talking about, this is the first in a series of 2 where we talk about the amazing actress Gwendolyn Christie and 2 of her most notable roles. Today we're going to be talking about her role in the Star Wars franchise as Captain Phasma. So, stick right where you are. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to give you some thoughts and information and knowledge on Captain Phasma. Don't go away.
Do you seek logic in an illogical world? Does your mind seek the knowledge of the universe and its relevance to society? Does your soul require a depth rarely found in the existence currently available to humankind?
Here, you laddie! Where you going with that, tatties? Get over here, son! I'll break your fucking arse, son! Come here!
Then keep looking, because Stascast isn't for you.
Can't see this, folks, but what I did was just in preparation of this discussion, I just went through.
You fucking prepared?
Stascast does, however, bring you conversation from professional non-professionals about music, film, television, technology, society, in existence as a whole or in pieces.
Finally, we got to the point of this podcast.
Yeah, I'm like, we will always gravitate back to the anus. It is our home point from which all humor in this podcast will be generated.
Jump into the conversation on Facebook at facebook.com/Stascast.
It's not a comedy podcast. This is a really badly organized intervention.
You can also find Stascast at Stitcher Radio and on iTunes.
It's all serious talk about stupid shit. If you've got the kettle flax around your neck and you're about to kick the stool from underneath you, what? Why not look it up beforehand?
Hi, I'm Mike Price. I'm a writer on The Simpsons. I co-created F is for Family, and you're listening to Throwdown Thursday Podcast.
Good evening, future passengers. Are you ready to sit back, relax, and join us on a ride of epic proportions through the mystical land of randomness?
Am I a serial killer if I eat Lucky Charms?
What would it be like if horror characters ran a gym? Who would run spin class?
When a shark jumps out of the water, is it like suffocating for that split second?
So join us every week for a brand new Derailment with Goobs, Ripkin, and Jenny Bean.
You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Derailers.
And don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and also on YouTube. Have a great night or day, folks.
And we are back. We are back. It's me. It's Agent Nicole. It's Jeanette. It's Johnny Wolfenstein. And we're here today. We're talking about Captain Phasma. So I think the first thing we need to do is we need to really discuss our first impressions when we first saw. I know for me, I saw the trailer for Force Awakens probably about 650 times because I was so excited because I love J.J. Abrams. I love Star Wars. And then you see like just this brief shot of this chrome stormtrooper, and you're like, "What is this?" Like I knew they were introducing new stormtroopers and like new classes, and this is the First Order. It's not the Empire. It's a new thing. And what are we looking at here? So, Jeanette, you're the guest, so we'll start off with you. What's the first thing you thought of when you saw this? What was your initial reaction?
Oh, shiny!
Yeah, that's fair.
That was my entire first reaction. It was just for like, in the trailer, definitely the first second that I saw was, oh, shiny! So I'm, obviously a deep level thinker when it comes to things.
I just typed in shiny. Just that word is.
Well, how about you there, Agent Nicole?
I don't remember when I saw it. When did The Force Awakens come out?
What's to this year is
2018.
2018, so 2015.
2015. I didn't see the movie until way after it had been released. Like I probably one of the last few weeks that it was still showing in the movie theaters, I saw it. I think shiny probably sums it up for me as well. I was like, oh, okay. And then when I heard it was Gwendolyn Christie, I was like, say what? Say what? It was her. And then I completely forgot. And then when I saw the movie and then I heard her voice, I was like, oh my God, it's her. So yeah, badass in the making right there. Just comes out all shiny.
See, for me, when I first saw her, I had, that crazy reaction like, oh my God, who is this lady? Like I mean, because I knew it was Gwendolyn Christie in that, because I had heard rumors and things like that. But, it's like, why is she wearing this chrome? Like, what's the story? And, I watched a ton of these like trailer breakdown videos where people like, prognosticate and theorize, and you learn through slow leaks and interviews and things that her armor came from a Naboo starfighter. And we saw that similar to the starfighter. I forget if it's the same or it's a similar starfighter from the Phantom Menace, the ship that they're all zipping around in throughout that entire film. The one that's got Natalie Portman and Ewan McGregor and whiny-ass Jake Lloyd. That's what her armor is, and that's what makes her, obviously stand out. And that's one of those things that Star Wars does really well, is to give you a character, if you're supposed to pay attention to them, give them a way to stand out, especially if you're going to be doing some sort of like wide shot or big battle scene. A lot of actors were like, hey, I'd really like to stand out, which is part of the reason why Sam Jackson had a purple lightsaber. So he'd be able to pick himself out when he was, watching the movie. He'd be like, hey, look, there's me right there. Or when someone else was watching. I don't know if he watches his own stuff.
I'm sure you guys have this research or have seen this. So if I'm stepping on toes and you're going to talk about it later, then please just tell me so. But did you guys know where Captain Phasma came from as far as the idea from J.J. Abrams?
No, I didn't come across that.
They said that, like, the costume was from the Phantasm, I think.
He's a huge fan of the movie Phantasm, and if you guys have seen the spheres that that the tall man has, they're chrome, and so he actually he refurbished or has like a remastered, like a 4K remaster of Phantasm that J.J. Abrams like helped shepherd along because he's such a huge fan of the film. So that's what it came from. Is Captain Phasma came from Phantasm.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool.
So that's why you can attribute the color of her armor to that, and also the nod in the name Phasma comes from that as well.
It makes sense. So Nicole, I see you.
That does make sense.
No, I'm just looking through. Don't ask me anything.
Oh, okay. So now, Jeanette, you mentioned off air before we started recording that you kind of went through some of the research materials that are out there, because obviously in the films we don't get a lot.
Well, not anything. She shows up, she gets thrown in the garbage chute, and then like next movie we see a little bit more, but mostly she shows up and she gets thrown into something else. Like that just seems to be her character arc.
Maybe gravity affects her greater than other people.
Maybe. I mean, it is a lot of chrome. It could be that magnetic forces are just attracting things to her. But I was actually really surprised when I was looking up Captain Phasma today that there was more backstory. I'm like, where is this story in the movies?
Yeah, that seems to be something that Disney, at least recently, has started doing with a lot of their properties. Like we saw it with Marvel with the Avengers, how they've kind of sort of to fit the movie narrative. Because Disney owns Marvel, they've gone in and changed the comics. So the even something so small as the color of the Infinity Gems, they've gone back and kind of retconned so the comics match the movies, so people have an easier time following along. And this is one of the things that they do. Like they put out a lot of companion books and novels and comics and a lot of different literature. And like you're saying, you saw the comic, and I know a little bit about it, but why don't you explain to us what you saw and the impression that it made based on what we've seen on screen? So if people aren't familiar with the comic and they don't know, because the comic paints her in a totally different light than we saw in the movie, and she's just like, hey, you didn't do what I said. Who gave you permission to take off your helmet? Oh, I just got punched by Chewbacca, and now I'm being thrown down a garbage chute. Like, that's the extent of her involvement. So,
well, in the movies, I feel like all we get is, hey, I'm a bad guy. Are you? No, we haven't seen anything bad from you. But just from the brief, like, oh, there's a comic I can get, like, in the first couple pages that there is so much more to her. It's like, oh, there's the badass that's sort of promised with the outfit. Cool. I actually really want to go find the comics now and read them, because like I think Captain Phasma as a character is a really cool design. It would be nice to have something of substance behind it beyond, I am in charge of you, therefore I am bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not just... that's not really a character description. Like, that's more like...
No.
Like, it's not even an outline. It's kind of like, this guy's a bad guy because he's wearing a black hat. Like, who cares? If you're going to make someone stand out in that way...
Give them a reason to.
Right. Because like, oh, why does she wear this chrome armor? Maybe she's force sensitive. Maybe she's got powers. Maybe she's all scarred and beat up and she's part robot. Maybe they needed to make this particular thing to hold her together.
Well, one of the things I think, isn't that maybe part of the mystique as to why she's such an interesting character? I'm not saying it's right, but like, just think about Boba Fett in the original trilogy. How badass was Boba Fett, and how much screen time did he have? Right, and how much did he go out like a chump? At the end of Jedi or beginning of Jedi, I should say. So I think that they tried to do something similar with Phasma, where Boba Fett was this character who took on a life of his own because of the mystique about this character. How did Boba Fett come to be? And then and then in the prequels we get kind of a half-ass sort of thing where it wasn't as cool as you had imagined.
Right.
I think that's one of the disappointments of the prequels, and I generally like them, but that to me was a little disappointing. I wanted something a little cooler than that, I think. But like I do think they tried to go for something similar, like kind of a female Boba Fett, And the good thing about things now is that now that Disney's in charge, they can tell a Phasma story at any time. Later on they can go back and explore how she became that. Not saying they will. I don't know if that'll, if she's as popular to carry a film yet, but that is a possibility. And it does diminish the character, I think, a little bit, because you see this really cool character and she seems like such a strong, powerful character, but she kind of like goes out like a chump here and there, and it's like, oh, there's so much potential. Why would you do this? And my thought is that maybe J.J. Abrams created this really cool character, and then I'm drawing a blank on the second director's name. I don't know why. Ryan Johnson, and maybe Ryan was like, well, maybe I don't have plans for her, so I'm not really going to use her much.
Yeah, I think he did that with pretty much everyone in the film.
I don't think so, but with our character, maybe JJ had something more in mind, and then it didn't get carried through the way that he had maybe envisioned. So, I'm not quite sure what it is, but I think that while there have been some missteps with the character, I do think that there's a lot of mystique still behind her, and I do believe she's still alive.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think there are more stories to tell in her future and in her past. So I think they did some things really well, and they've done some things really wrong with her. And hopefully that's something that they could potentially explore later on.
See,
I would really like to see them explore more of Captain Phasma in the future.
No, I agree. And the biggest difference between her and Boba Fett is that Boba Fett actually was crucial to the plot of the second and third film. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, he just goes out like a chump. Yeah, but he captured Han Solo. Like, something no one was able to do. Like, Phasma was just, oh, I'm holding my gun all cool. Oh, I got punched in the face. And then in the next thing, like, in the next film, you see her and she really doesn't do anything again. Like, she has a little bit more of an impact because she has a little bit more screen time. But she, like, everything that happens in her arc is because of Benicio del Toro's character. Like, it has nothing to do with stuff that she's gone out and done. Like, they literally came to her and screwed up. Like, it's not like, she used her skills to track them down. So I think that, and, I think, Wolfie, you hit on it, is Abrams had this idea, and Ryan Johnson has said, well, I had no plans for any of these characters. I really didn't look at Abrams' script. I just told the story I wanted to tell. So it's like they're trying to tell two separate stories within the same franchise with the same characters. And I think,
there had to have been some through line. I mean, I don't think they're just like, all right, Ryan Johnson, go nuts, do whatever you want.
I'm just saying what Ryan Johnson said. This was his quote.
Yeah, I mean, I have listened to his commentary on Last Jedi as well, but I think that Disney certainly has a little bit of say. They can override whatever, but they hired him and they put their faith in him to make a good movie, and then if he can convince them that's the right reason, I'm sure they'll go along with it. But I don't think they were like, okay, here you have complete free reign. I'm sure they said, okay, this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen. Now go nuts with that.
Yeah,
I'm sure, like, maybe in the third film there will be some sort of
well, it's Abrams again. So.
Oh, it is Abrams? Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing because just reading through the notes, like, Gwendolyn Christie really campaigned hard for this film, for Captain Phasma. Like, this character was intentionally supposed to be a male, and she, a lot of the times they were kind of giving Disney and the Star Wars franchise kind of shit for, like, we need more female presence in this franchise, like, especially with how the generations are growing up now. There's a lot of strong female characters, and Gwendolyn Christie, props to her for being so adamant and, like, very vocal about wanting to continue this story of Phasma, because I have absolutely no idea, like, I think it does what Wolfie said, like, it kind of goes with that, like, mystique about her. You don't know what she's really truly about. And I'm hoping that they do expand her story, because she sounds like an amazing character. And I know Gwendolyn Christie is very concerned about how her character might be at the very end. And like, you know, we're getting, unfortunately, a solo film.
Maybe, a solo film.
Solo film. Maybe we'll get a Phasma film. Like, I would be totally done with that.
See,
kind of like understanding her from how she goes from, you know, this young little child to this high-ranking officer in the First Order.
Well, that's partly touched on in the comic.
Mm-hmm.
Jeanette, why don't you tell us what you found in the comic, and then we can kind of like bounce off of that and kind of, you know, expand upon that with the rest of our discussion here.
Well, mostly I was curious to hear what you had found about it, because I've only just dipped my toe into that. All I discovered was, oh my god, she has a comic? Oh my god, there's a backstory?
All right, so
that's the extent of my knowledge. So there's excitement, and I'm very, very curious to hear about what you've learned in reading it and versus what we've seen on screen, because most of my knowledge of Phasma is just on screen.
All right, so I misunderstood what you were saying there earlier. So basically, the first comic that came out tells the story of what happened with Phasma after she shut the reactor down and after she was thrown in the garbage chute. So she obviously gets out of the garbage chute, but her number one priority is wiping out any trace that she was the one who shut the shield down. Mm-hmm. So she goes and looks. She's trying to wipe everything out of the computer, and it turns out somebody already accessed the computer. So she altered the logs to make it seem like he did it. Mm-hmm. And then, well, he knows the truth. I have to kill him. So she tracks him down. Like, and this is where there's a true comparison to Boba Fett. Like, there's a line drawn directly from point A to point Boba. So what she does is she gets a pilot. Like, she even walks by the lightsaber battle that Rey and Kylo were having, ignores it because she's so intent on showing her loyalty and like not willing to admit to any type of mistake or disloyalty or weakness or anything. So she grabs this pilot, they get a ship, and they follow him. They track where he went. And they follow him. I forget what the name of the planet is. Like I said, this is recent that I just checked this out. And she gets down there, and there's this they take off all their First Order armor and insignias and things like that. And they meet the natives, and the natives are, rather primitive. And she's like, "Where's this guy?" And they basically tell her, "Oh, this other tribe took him." And she's like, "All right, well, that might be fine. They might kill him, but I really have to make sure." So she goes and gets her. She convinces them, and this is very Return of the Jedi, convinces them that she came from the sky to lead them to victory in a war against this other race. So she's got her shiny, like with the Ewoks and C-3PO, she got this shiny armor, and she literally came from the sky. So I don't know if they're worshiping her as a deity or like a sign from whatever deities that they have. So they start a war. They go after this warring tribe just so she can get behind enemy lines and kill this other Imperial guy. I keep calling him Imperial. I'm probably still going to keep calling them Imperials. This other First Order guy. And he's like, "Oh, I'll never tell anybody, and I'm so sorry, and please don't kill me." And she's like, "Well, there's only one way I can guarantee that you don't tell anybody what I did." And so she kills him. Then she's like, "Oh shit, there's a pilot over there." Pilot's like, "I didn't hear a goddamn thing." And she's like, "Maybe, but either way, there's a chance you did, and I can't risk that." Kills the pilot too. So now nobody knows what happened.
Vicious.
Yeah.
Where the hell's this shit in the movie?
So she goes
This is what I want to see.
She goes back to Hux. Now, from what I understand, when she was a child, she was on the planet of Parnassus. That's her home planet. And a similar type of thing happens because she remarks when she's on this planet how she doesn't like it because it reminds her of her home world. And this is it from the novel, so I'm kind of like trying to piece all the stories together. She, her and her brother are the only ones that survive between like these two huge clans that are warring. And she ends up like, okay, we're going to join the clan that didn't attack us, and she becomes the best warrior. You know, some First Order people land, and they're like, well, we're looking for the best warriors. She's like, well, I'm the best warrior, because she wants this opportunity to get off this planet. Like, she doesn't like it. She hates where she lives. She's like, there's so many other planets. I can get out of here. And I believe it was Hux's father, because they gave the different first names. Like, his name is like, I keep wanting to call him Aldous, but that's Aldous Huxley, who wrote Brave New World, and I know that's not right, but I think that might be who he's named after. He's like, oh, okay, you know, so he takes her and trains her, and she becomes like this badass warrior. Now, Nicole, I see you looking at your notes.
No, I'm just reviewing stuff. It's something with the comics.
You're totally looking at your notes.
I am looking, but it's nothing related to what you're talking about.
Fine. So, and then, you know, if I remember correct, and I may be crossing some things over, the armor that she gets is actually like it was either given to her directly or it was part of Palpatine's collection. But either way, she gets it through Palpatine, who I believe his homeworld was Naboo.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah, it says Phasma wore armor coated in chromium salvaged from a Naboo yacht once owned by the Galactic Empire's Emperor Palpatine.
Palpatine.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was... So, all right, I knew that I was trying to remember exactly what it was because I was trying to review a bunch of stuff earlier today, and like a lot of things were getting kind of overlapped. But, yeah, so her armor, like we said, is from a Naboo starship, and it happened to be Palpatine's, so which is pretty awesome. Like, if you're going to make armor from something... Like, that's a good thing to make armor from.
Okay, I have one question, because I am not very in-depth with the Star Wars franchise. Who's Palpatine?
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Sorry.
Oh, boy.
I am sorry, everybody.
Have you ever seen any of the Star Wars movies?
I have, but, like, this was when I was a little kid, so I haven't really...
Palpatine is the guy who looks like a ball sack. He's like... The little dude.
That's the best description of him.
Looks like a ball sack. Okay, hold on. I'm just going to Google this shit.
You could just say the Emperor.
Well,
okay,
to make it a little easier for her.
What did you just read
Emperor
off of your
Palpatine.
paper 2 seconds ago? The Emperor Palpatine.
AKA ball sack.
You literally just read it off your paper, so I didn't think saying the Emperor would make you.
It would have been better because there's how many emperors in this?
One.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I should not.
Jeez, how many emperors are there? One. Oh.
I'm sorry, everybody. I probably crushed a lot of people's hearts.
That's not your fandom. It's okay. You're a Trekkie. You're not a
Warzy.
You know what though?
I mean,
there may be other
isn't
people.
there a Palpatine in Star Trek as well? Like, there's a character named Palpatine in that.
Does he
somewhere.
also look like a ball sack?
Probably.
I mean, he's not entirely as wrinkly, but he's still an old dude.
He's just more hairy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a little bit more hair than Emperor Palpatine.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you who that guy is. See, that is the.
I got
Emperor.
it. Wolfie, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say. I'm sure, like Nicole, there's some other folks who don't know all the details. Maybe they're not super into Star Wars either. So, Agent Nicole is the proxy for the person who doesn't know.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Thanks, Agent Nicole. if anything, you made me feel good, actually, because I'm like, oh, I don't know that much about Star Wars, but hey, I know who that guy is. So thank you. That's such a douchey thing to say. I'm sorry.
At least I'm not as dumb as you.
It's okay. Normally, I feel really dumb in like nerd conversations. So
No, that's fine. That's all right. Like I said, it's not everybody's fandom. I had this conversation at Rhode Island Comic-Con. Like, I was waiting outside for the Star Wars trivia contest, and one of the volunteers that was running it didn't know much about Star Wars, and some asshole was giving him shit, and he's just like,
"Aw."
And I was like, hey, everybody's got different fandoms. Like, take a look around you. In this room alone, there's, like, people dressed up as 25 different characters. Like, so what? Yeah, Star Wars is big, and it might be important to you. It's clearly important to everyone who's in line here because they think they know enough about it that they can win a trivia contest. But just because someone's running it doesn't mean that that's, they were assigned here as a volunteer. Like, they don't have to know it. And the kid's like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, the volunteer was like, yeah, if this was a Doctor Who competition. I'm like, yeah, and if this was a Doctor Who competition, I wouldn't be here because I don't know a damn thing about Doctor Who. So,
see, there you go.
Everybody's got different fandoms and everybody's got different stuff. I just expected Nicole to do her homework.
I was on vacation.
She was on vacation. She was gallivanting around all weekend. Didn't show up to work on Friday. Didn't show up to work on Monday. Just like, you know what? I'm not going in. Didn't clear it with anybody. Just decided not to show up.
Yep, that's what
totally
I do.
Well, that's what sick days are for, isn't it?
Totally unscheduled day off. She's like, yeah, I'm not coming in tomorrow. What are you going to do about it? Nothing. And then she slapped everybody
She's my
in the
supervisor.
face. Yeah. And this other girl we work with is like, oh, well, how come you're not coming in? And Nicole's like, come here. I'll tell you why. She comes over, and Nicole slapped her and said, none of your goddamn business, that's why. And I was like, that was aggressive.
I have my moments of aggression, but...
I was like, wow, that was really aggressive. And then she didn't come in Friday or Monday. So,
yeah.
But karma got to her because her seat didn't recline at the movies. So I was like, that's what you get for slapping people.
Let's not talk about that part.
Half of that happened.
Yeah.
I'll let you decide which half.
Is there any more to the comics? Because I do have something that I would like to share.
There's a lot more to the comics.
Okay, you continue.
No. I was going to say, I don't know all of it.
Okay.
Like, there's characters like her parents and, like, exactly what happens in, her homeworld and, like, her training, like, but I don't know it all. Because this is, as much as I enjoyed the character and as much as I like Gwendolyn Christie, I just don't know as much. And there's a lot of source material, like... I'm like, okay, we decided we were going to do this like weeks and weeks ago. And I'm like, oh, I'll download the audiobook. I get a free credit. We already own the physical novel. Sure, I'll read it by then. Guess what I didn't read or listen to? Yeah. So,
oh, no.
So I did a bunch of research over the last couple of days trying to figure out, exactly what we have. But I was inundated with work because Nicole decides she's not going to show up. So I have to do all her work and all mine.
You don't even know how to do my work.
Yeah, and that I had to do training so I could learn how to do her work.
We're getting way off topic.
Go ahead and do your thing now.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the films because a lot of us know the films a little bit more than the comics. I was looking through this Wikipedia.
Wait, say that again?
Wikipedia.
You are putting all the emphasis on...
Wookie. So one of the things I just read is for Phasma's role in The Last Jedi, Christie and director Ryan Johnson discussed the character exchanging ideas. In fact, Phasma was originally meant to not be in the film for The Last Jedi, as she was supposed to be killed off in The Force Awakens, but Marvel Comics, the comic book series Star Wars Captain Phasma brought her back in order to use her in the film. So that's kind of really putting like everything together. Like we weren't supposed to have her, but I'm sure a lot of people were kind of like really up in arms about wanting her in the film and like how much they really wanted to see her succeed in this franchise. And it said that Johnson originally wrote a line line for Flynn's battle with Phasma, in which Phasma was to reveal that she spent 3 weeks in a Star Killer base's trash bin. So Finn was to ask her how she ate, but the line was cut because it was impossible as the base was exploding at the same day and all that shit. But
did Rian Johnson even watch the first film?
I don't know.
I had to live in the trash for 3 weeks. Oh, how'd that work out after the planet exploded 10 minutes later? It was a very well-constructed trash compactor.
Yeah.
It saved her life, in fact.
That's true.
Clearly.
But it's kind of, you kind of see how much of a, kind of like, not like a cult following, but such a little following of a lot of people really wanting to.
Yeah, I would call it a cult following.
Like a cult following for Captain Phasma, of wanting to see where her story is going to lead us. And, well, that brings up to the conclusion of what's going on in The Last Jedi with that last battle with her and Finn. And we see her basically get chucked into the explosion.
Well, there is a deleted scene, which is basically the same thing that I came across on YouTube, because I still haven't purchased that movie, which is highly unlike me. But there's a scene where it's essentially the same thing. It's her facing off with Finn. She's surrounded by, there's 2 stormtroopers behind him, and then 2 behind her, and then another one. So, like, think of a square. So there's, like, 6 of them. 2 on the short ends of the rectangle behind each of them, and then 1 on either side.
Okay.
So 1 on their left, 1 on their right. 2 in front, 2 behind. And so he says to her, he's like, oh, how would you, you're such a disciplinarian, and, how would your stormtroopers react if they knew you were the one who lowered the shield? She goes, oh, nobody would ever believe that. But then, this is where, I'm glad, one thing that I think Johnson did well was getting actors instead of just stunt people to play important stormtroopers. Because stunt people are great, you don't need to see their face, but you still have to express the scene and the emotion that your character is feeling. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing that with a mask and you're covered in armor, it's a lot more difficult to do. So
yeah, it is.
So you can see they're starting to realize, how did she get off the base? How was it that, she was supposed to be in charge, but the thing still went down? The shield still came down, and the base ended up getting exploded. So that, and this sort of ties into the comic, where, at this point her mask is cracked, so you can see her eye.
Yeah, I would have liked to talk about that one.
She, you can kind of see the realization, and she turns and kills every single one of them. Mm-hmm. And
whoa!
She goes to kill Finn, but Finn. Now, I don't know if this was a finished scene or they just kind of, they didn't polish it up, because it looked like he lopped her right hand off.
Oh.
Because she stands over him, she boots him, and he gets knocked into the pile of dead stormtroopers, and she stands over him with her pike, and she's about to impale him.
Yeah, it says
he
here.
Gives that stupid rebel scum line, but picks up a shotgun and blows her away.
Yeah, it says the deal between Phasma and Finn was to have ended differently. Finn ended up revealing in front of her surviving stormtroopers escorted that Phasma squealed like a whooping hog about the base defense for the Starkiller base, thus making her responsible for the base destruction. The stormtroopers then tried to attack her when confronted with evidence of her treason, only to have her for her to kill them, while Finn capitalized on the distance by cutting her hand off. Phasma would have met her end when Finn blasted her with one of the stormtroopers' blasters after the scum exchange between the two. So that was a behind the scenes kind of tidbit right there.
Yeah, and you get to see this a little bit, but I didn't. I don't know.
But I want to touch down on a touchdown. I want to touch upon that last scene where you see Phasma's eye. Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey in the Star Wars franchise, suggested.
Wait, who's Rey? Which one is Rey?
Ray Park.
Yeah, Ray Park.
Suggested that the idea of Phasma's eye being exposed by the fight with Finn in the film. She was the one who suggested that idea. So Daisy Ridley's the one, credit her for that. And that Johnson agreed, feeling that it would be disturbing to show that someone as cruel as Phasma actually being physically beautiful. Costume designer Michael Kaplan originally wanted to take off Phasma's entire helmet, but Johnson insisted that only showing Phasma's eyes, stating that Phasma's face was showing too much, needing to be mysterious. In addition, Johnson, Kaplan, Mark Hamill, and Christie implied that the possibility that Phasma might have survived her duel with Finn and could be in the next Star Wars film, with Johnson joking, adding that Phasma is the Kenny from South Park in this series. However, recently Christie has begun worrying about that she won't be able to expand and explore Phasma's story in the 9th installment, given that the strong possibility that Phasma might not return. So I hope she comes back.
Me too.
I really would like to see her. I would like to see this backstory of her. Jeanette, what would you like to see in the next Star Wars film with Phasma if she does come back?
I think it would be so interesting and wonderful after 2 movies of just like, hey, I'm here, oh my god, bye! To have some actual story with her and Finn, particularly.
Yeah. Because
that relationship keeps getting hinted at, and it just the hint of it, it's so tantalizing. Like, there's got to be something cool there. There really could be. And I really hope that she does come back, and if she survives that explosion and comes back and then does something super badass and nefarious, that would make both of the oh my god, why moments just work for me, at least.
I like that. What about you, Patrick?
I just want to see her actually do something that's meaningful. Like, so far, it doesn't seem like Rian Johnson really wanted her in the film.
Yeah.
And so her main purpose was because I think that scene that they cut is way better than the scene that they kept.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so much better. Why they cut it, I have no idea, especially where it ties directly into how she is and who she is in the comics, that I'm sure Disney is the one who initiated that whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
My issue is that she was only there, she only existed to set up arguably the worst fucking line in the entire franchise. This is making me angry.
If you're going to go on an angry rant, you get 2 minutes.
One of the best lines in all of Star Wars is when everybody gets captured and the guy comes in his epic fucking voice. It's like, rebel scum. And then they twist that and they ruin it. And she goes, you've always been scum. And he's like, rebel scum. And then he picked up a shotgun, aimed it at her, waited, ate a sandwich, winked at the camera a couple times, then shot her. If this was her, if this was true to the character I think we've seen in other media besides the films, she would have just launched the thing at him and killed him, thrown it he wasn't wearing armor. Mm-hmm. And that's the other thing. Hers is the first armor I've ever seen do anything.
Yes.
Everybody else, oh, I'm wearing armor. No, you're not. You're wearing Tupperware that's molded to look like armor. None of. If you can get taken out by a rock, dropped by a teddy bear, that's not armor.
Nope.
So Yeah, it's just there's so much more that I want to see from this character, and I know I'm not the only one. You know, obviously, just you guys in here are on the same page. Like, there's so much that can be done with this character, and I think a lot of this is my personal opinion here, and if you want to disagree, that's fine. But I think a lot of the issues that came with this film, a lot of things that people were complaining about, was these weren't Rian Johnson's characters. He didn't really care enough about them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he wanted to tell a story, but he also had to deal with the story that, what's his name? Abrams had already told, and deal with characters. Like, he didn't want Captain Phasma to be in this film.
Yeah.
You know, and then he tried giving her, like, the shittiest lines ever, and she went out like a chump a second time. Like, where everyone was comparing her to Boba Fett, where, like, you see a brief glimpse of Boba Fett, and then you see him do, like, that all-time best fucking tracking move when he follows the Millennium Falcon to Cloud City, like, hanging out in the garbage because he knows that's the best place to find, you know, if the Falcon's gonna, you know, get away, that's the best place to do it. Like, that was brilliant. Phasma hasn't had that moment in the movies.
Nope.
Like, she comes in, she gets her ass kicked, and then that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at least in the first film, like, she took a solid right hook from Chewbacca. Now, we know that Chewbacca is incredibly strong. Like, incredibly strong. Even at, like, you know, 250 years old or whatever the hell he is. So, for her to take that shot to the jaw, like, that was impressive. And they had to sneak up on her. It wasn't like it was a fair fight. They snuck up on her. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, kind of gave you an idea of how badass she was. It's like, okay, they respect her enough. And Finn probably filled her in, was like, listen, she's, you know, first of all, Gwendolyn Christie is fucking 6'3" in real life.
Yeah.
So
she's a monster. I love it.
So she's already very tall.
Yeah.
Then you add all this armor and like, I'm sure, like, those boots have lifts in them. So she's probably closer to 7 feet now.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, she's already big, she's strong, she's a warrior, she's a survivor. Like, I'm sure Finn doesn't know everything about her, but he knows enough to be like, she's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
But we need her alive. So what do? You send in your heaviest hitter to go after the heaviest hitter.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what they did with Chewbacca. So that kind of gives you an idea of who she is and how powerful she is. For her to then get taken out by the garbage man of the Starkiller base in the second film, like, that pissed me off. Like, that to me, and now the more I'm thinking about it, more now that I know that he really had no plans for this character, like, I think that kind of shows his contempt for having to deal with it. It's like, okay, I'll put her in the movie, but I'm going to do it on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Finn taking her out, that shouldn't have happened. Finn's not a fighter.
But I think maybe it's because we were introduced with so many other characters as well. So, I mean, it sucks that she got, like, basically chucked to the side. And then you have all these other characters that they're trying to reintroduce. And it's like, you know, it's very disheartening. Like, so, there's a character that has so much great potential. And then to know that she wasn't supposed to survive. And that the only reason why she's in this film is because of the backstories of the comic book series. And now we have a character that's probably, hopefully it's not going to waste. Because there's so much potential. And I think it's nice to have a villain in such a very male-dominated film. Like, where a lot of the villains are males. It's nice to have a female villain kind of, you know, changing things up a bit. And I just hope that that with Abrams coming back as director, I did not know that he was coming back as the director, which I hope that, because his love for Phasma, I hope that it does kind of shine through in the next film and that she potentially does survive.
Yeah, I think she will. But I'm hoping that Abrams does some great work with her and is able to bring her back. And I mean, if anybody can do it, it's him. And I would definitely, if I was going to entrust the future of the franchise to anybody, and the Russo brothers weren't available. Although I will say this, if they do a Phasma movie, I want Patty Jenkins directing it. That's what I want to see. Because of what she did with Wonder Woman, I think she would be perfect. So
she'd be amazing.
So I think with that being said, we're going to go ahead and bring this episode to a close after we come back from break. So we'll hit our last break. We'll come back, and we'll give you a little preview of coming attractions, so to speak. So we will be right back.
Trick or Treat Radio is a phantasmagorical spin kick straight through the heart of pop culture, navigated by the Deadites. We are the world's greatest electroshock band, we destroy monsters, we drink booze, and we win championship belts. If you're not listening to Trick or Treat Radio, here's a taste of what you've been missing. There's 3 guarantees in life. What are they?
Death, taxes, and Trick or Treat Radio every Friday morning.
This is one of the most convoluted movies I've ever seen in my life.
I'm fucking trying, man. Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. It's like you took a shit on a pile of shit.
But you shit on him for liking what he likes.
Yeah, well, it's my job.
This podcast is now banned in Germany.
It's me, Giovanni Lombardo Radici.
Shut up. I call bullshit. I demand someone to bring me the face of Lindsay Lohan.
If I had genitals, I would definitely bang her.
Oh, wait. Is she a great big fan person?
You just hit the jackpot.
This is a weird movie, huh?
It had action, it had suspense, it had great characters, it had great acting.
I'm going to strangle you with my jockey shorts.
I don't like mobster movies.
All right, well, here's my take. You're a sick fuck.
Thank you. Now shut the fuck up and let me talk.
Have you ever seen 2001?
The box, right? The box and the monkey.
Available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and trickortreatradio.com.
Arrivederci, douchebags.
Hi, my name is Kurando Mitsutake, director of Gun Woman and Karate Kill, and you're listening to Throwdown Thursday Podcast.
Hey, this is Miles, aka Mr. Most Days Off from the Best Darn Diddly Review Show, and you're listening to the Throwdown Thursday Podcast.
And we're back. So, I think that was a pretty good discussion. I managed to keep my anger at The Last Jedi for the most part contained, but maybe we'll save that for the 100th episode. I'll just go on like some kind of epic rant on something. I don't know. We have big plans for that 100th episode that's coming up in a couple of weeks.
We do? This is the first time hearing.
Yeah, we have big plans. I don't know. We're going to get Ray Park and Albert Einstein is going to be on. Albert Einstein's going to join us from Beyond the Grave, which is pretty impressive.
That's intense.
Yeah. No, it's not going to be intense because we're inside, so we don't need a tent.
Don't laugh at it, Jeanette. Don't laugh.
I hope.
It's so hard, though.
Don't encourage him.
I was literally just thinking, much like camping, that would be an intense episode.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm right there with you, Patsy.
If you have sex during camping, it's fucking intense. So, I'm going to say that if anybody has any questions or any thoughts that they'd like to share with us after this episode, feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, on the whatchamacallit thing, Face. We are running a contest where if you give us your credit card information, your mother's maiden name, your social security number, if one of those numbers is the winning number, you win a date with Agent Nicole. after you pay the $40 application fee. We're still doing that.
Wow.
I was not aware of that, so
We're still doing that. So
do
just
not
send us your first pet, your social security number,
I think
and
people
your mother's
probably
maiden
like
name.
this bitch doesn't even know Star Wars, so why would I want to take
Also, your credit card information, debit card information. Just put all that in the comments, and we'll pick a number at random. And if you get it, you win.
This feels like prostitution. Like
A little bit.
It's fraud. I'm trying to commit fraud.
But
No, we don't have any contests running right now.
God.
Maybe we'll do it for the 100th. Yeah. I don't know.
But Jeanette, I wanted to ask you. So you are doing some YouTube videos. I want to give you the platform to pimp out your stuff. So please pimp out your stuff.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. Over on the YouTubes, I am Jeanette Andromeda, so spelt the same way as you'll see in the show notes here, I'm sure. And I am creating artwork via video and sharing random art challenges that I am doing / finding, and having a good arty time over there, usually with a bit of a horror spin.
I'm still waiting for my butterfly picture.
That's coming up soon, actually. I've got this week's video is all about #mermay because mermay is a thing this month, and I'm very excited about it.
So you're taking 6 hours of content and trying to chop it up to 30 minutes?
Yeah, so that one was... That particular tweet was about something I was editing this morning, because I had decided there's this art challenge app that I have called the Arty Games app, and I was like, I'm gonna do a challenge video. That'll be fun. I'll give myself infinite amount of time just so I can make something cool, and I'll do an environment challenge and a character design challenge. What could go wrong?
3 hours.
8 hours later. Oh, great. Oh, now I'm done. Oh, wait, now I have to edit.
Yeah, I saw that tweet, and I was like, oh my god, that poor girl.
Well, I managed to get 8 hours of footage condensed into 5. So far, so good.
That's good.
So, I'm excited to see how that one is going to actually turn into a video, and then after that, my reward is to draw people as scary butterflies.
Oh man!
Yeah, I sent a picture to her, actually from our Infinity War recording with cookies shoved in my face.
Okay, I was just gonna ask.
She's like, everyone, send me a selfie. So that was the best one I had on hand.
Oh, we were supposed to send you selfies? I was not aware.
It was on Twitter.
I'm sorry.
Which you can follow Jeanette on Twitter. Where?
You can follow me on @Jeanette Androme. So it's JeanetteAndrome. Because Andromeda did not fit.
Yeah,
I had to leave off the
draw people too, so that works.
I do draw people. I thought it kind of worked.
I still send a selfie to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I felt
because I'll probably be doing. I'm gonna experiment with live streaming doing the Scary Butterflies one, just because it'd be more fun. But that is a challenge I have yet to figure out. So it might just be on Instagram.
Also,
where the live stream will happen.
What is your Instagram? Is it the same?
Yep, that is Jeanette Andromeda on Instagram.
Okay, they give you a little more characters, so.
Yeah, I get away with more over there.
Definitely feel free to, and I tell this to everybody, share your work in the Facebook group, because we definitely want to support you. And where else
I'll
can
post
people
more of my obnoxious videos for you.
Yes, please.
So where else can people find you, find your work, maybe give you money for stuff? Do you have anything like that set up?
I do, actually. I have a brand new, freshly minted Patreon that is up. Also, patreon.com/Jeanette Andromeda. No spaces there. And at this stage of the game, anyone who joins my Patreon gets to really dictate what they want from me, because it's a fresh baby thing. I have some rewards set up that are just kind of basic things, but at this point, it's like, what do you want for $2 a month? Well, insert answer here, and I will do it.
So you can basically be Jeanette's boss.
Yeah.
Pay $2 a month and you can boss her around. Well, not really, but creatively.
Yeah. Draw this. No. So, all right. I think that'll pretty much do it. What are we talking about next week, Agent Nicole?
We are going to talk about Gwendolyn Christie's kind of breakout role from the lovely show of Game of Thrones. We're going to talk about Brienne of Tarth.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeanette, will you be joining us again?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay, good, because you're staying another week with us. We will feed you. We will give you whatever you
There's
want.
some M&Ms under the couch.
$2 a day.
$2 a day.
We contributed to her Patreon.
Wow, I got a raise.
She has to stay here a week.
Yep.
So I think we're going to go ahead and bring this episode to a close, and we will see you next Thursday.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for sticking it out all the way through. Gosh, how long is this? Like an hour's worth of content? Whew! I hope you enjoyed it greatly, because I enjoyed being on the Throwdown Thursday podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, please make sure to subscribe to the Throwdown Thursday podcast. Their link is in the description below, as well as links to where you can buy t-shirts with this lovely artwork on it. So none of that goes to me, that all goes to Patsy and Ashes, and just go support them, throw your money at them, and it would be really cool if people were rocking these shirts, because I'm really proud of the artwork that I made for this. So again, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week. With a much shorter episode, because this was really long for YouTube. Unless you're Shane Dawson, in which case you can do whatever you want. But I'm not Shane Dawson, so I'm surprised if any of you are actually listening to this right now. Okay, bye!